Welcome in to Behind Enemy Lines, a collaboration between the Paul Farrington Show and the Pack-A-Day Podcast. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler up at Harvard University, and Andy Herman, recovering from the Monday Night Football game between the Packers and Eagles last night. Andy logged on today, and Ziggy, without even saying hello first, just says, "You guys lose to the Giants, this show might be over." And Andy's like, "Yeah, might be over already." So, Andy, how are you doing? The hangover, the morning after.
Splendid. I am swell, splendid, spectacular, all of the above, except the exact opposite for the most part. Very frustrating Monday Night Football game. I realized, too, this is the first time we had week 4 where you guys lost and the Packers tied. This is the first time we've done this where both teams are on the losing end of things. So I guess misery loves company. We get to spend some time in each other's company and wallow in the fact that Detroit and Chicago are 1-2 in the division. And we are, buddies at the bottom of the NFC North. So yay us.
How does it happen? How does it happen so quickly, guys? Like a second ago, we're beating the Lions and we're feeling great. Go back a couple seconds before that, and you guys have that fourth quarter in Pittsburgh. And I mean, it turns quickly. It turns quickly in football. And at least, we could have this sort of, I guess it'll turn into probably a therapy session for us. That's how our instant reactions normally go to Viking games, Andy. So if we can help you in any way, we're going to do the best that we can during this episode.
I appreciate How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Doing great. This is kind of normal for us. Ziggy was all over.
Nearly as bad for us as it does you guys.
Ziggy was all over your comment section last night, Andy. We were both tuned in late night watching you.
The weight of expectations certainly is a real thing. When you have very high expectations and you don't meet it, that's always a little bit worse. Also, you guys got the ability to go, you had to see your team lose, but then you get to hate watch on Monday Night Football, and you got a very enjoyable hate watch. Like we the Packers didn't even get that, so at least you guys got something out of it.
But I'm
not sure I would call that game an enjoyable hate watch. That was just a tough game to watch in general.
That might be true. That's like chewing a very rough, cut of meat that you spent way too much money for, and you're just chewing. You're like, this is nowhere near as good as I was expecting.
Because it's not like Paul and I are sitting back thinking, boy, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game. That's awesome news for us. We love to see Philadelphia be on top. I want to see more runs on 3rd and 12 from the Philadelphia Eagles offense in the red zone. Like there is no winning in this.
Yeah,
there was some really dumb stuff by Philly. Like, it doesn't matter in the scheme of things, and certainly not where we even probably want to go with this from a Packers standpoint, but they did some really stupid things in that game, and just the Green Bay Packers completely just let them get away with it.
The 4th down decision was one of the dumbest thing, probably the dumbest thing I've seen this year since Ben Johnson kicked it off to the Vikings on Monday Night Football and basically lost the game when we ran the clock out. I could not believe that they went for that.
It was remarkable. There's like, even as they're lining up, like I'm just like I'm like writing down my notes and stuff and trying to like get things together in the press box, and never really expected that. And all of a sudden it's like the ball's in the air. I'm like, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm like, what? They're throwing deep to AJ Brown. And yeah, I mean, I think it was Carrington Ballantyne on the coverage. Kudos to him for having good coverage on the play. But I was beyond stunned. And I honestly thought, like, at that point, I'm like, oh, they're going to get in field goal range. I thought they'd miss the kick because that's what they've done all season long. But I'm like, they're going to get in field goal range. And, they kind of did, but not really.
Yeah, I had the same exact reaction as you did. I actually was changing our thumbnail and titled to the live we were doing after the game, and I walked out and the ball was actually in the air, and I had to run back and get everyone I was watching the game with. I was like, Dad, you might want to come back downstairs here. Like, we're watching the game together, and the Packers have a shot. So Andy, the defense had, I called it a borderline heroic effort last night in holding Philly and all that star power to 10 points. But the offense, just couldn't get the job done again. And I said if you just gave the Packers 20 points every game this season, they'd actually be 6-3. Like, they'd have a better record than they do right now, which is shocking, right? Just 20 points. I'm just going to ask you flat out, like, is the Packers offense broken?
Yeah, no, it's very broken. What's most concerning is that teams have been doing the same thing against Green Bay. And certainly it was a very similar copy and paste approach to what Carolina did a week ago to what Philly did. Now, Philly runs this style of defense anyway, so even more so you knew basically what you were getting into in this game, and Green Bay had no answers for it. And it's really interesting in a variety of different ways because, well, first of all, there's nothing that you feel good about at the moment, meaning you don't feel great about the run game. You don't feel great about the passing attack. You can't really go deep because they're playing too high. You know, you've tried some of the quick passing game. You've tried the outside, end arounds, jet sweeps, and screens to the outside. That hasn't really worked. Your line's not protecting long enough to get some of the deep digs and things like that. We've seen a couple of them, but now with consistency. And the big thing is your offensive line is playing poorly. But when you know what the other team's basically going to do and you can't do anything about it, that's a huge concern. And then again, going back to the offensive line, you run the ball Josh Jacobs over 20 times in this game. And along with Emmanuel Wilson, who got 1 carry, you average fewer than 3.5 yards per carry. Can't get the run game going at all. And then, Jordan Love's pressured per next gen stats on over 40% of his dropbacks. That's not great. And then, even above and beyond that, we talk about it all the time. I'm like, well, Christian Watson's coming back. And once Christian Watson's coming back, those safeties are going to play deep and you're going to get too high safety looks and you're going to be able to run the football. And we also saw Matt LaFleur runs a lot of the jet sweeps and reverses and things like that to keep teams also, spread out wide. Teams are lining up spread out wide with 2 high safeties. They're as spread out as you can be. They're saying, here's a red carpet. Would you like to run the football with Josh Jacobs? And over saying, yes, we would. We would love to run the football with Josh Jacobs. And they just can't do it. You're getting the most advantageous looks that you can imagine. And Green Bay's still, they're feeding them and feeding them and feeding them. They just can't run it at all. And when you can't run it and they're giving you that style of defense, it makes things really hard. And you just look at the play sheet and there's just nothing you can go to. And that's what we've seen these last 2 weeks with both Carolina and Philly. And to make things compounded even worse, you're at home. You're not even fighting an away crowd or crowd noise or adversity or anything like that. You're literally at home.
Yeah. And I'm just looking here. I don't think anything exemplifies it better maybe than the first drive of the game where, I saw in LaFleur's press conference, he says, yeah, we were trying to establish the run. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah. It's like you go through 5-yard run, 3-yard run, 4-yard run, 2-yard run, 2-yard run, 1-yard run. It's like, yeah, they can't get anything going. Somehow, they find themselves on the Philly 38 and Jordan takes that massive sack to put them, out of field goal range, if you want to say they were in field goal range at that point there. I know it was a cold, windy night, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like I haven't looked too much into the 2 high safety problem that they have, but I keep seeing people bring it up. And, if you can't run the ball, it's going to be hard to. And now Jenkins is hurt.
It's hard for me to see how it's going to get better either. Elgton Jenkins, it looks like he's going to be out for a long time. Heading into, not to look forward to next year when you've got a season ahead, but Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Kennard are all hitting the open market. I don't know what Green Bay's plan is going to be to address this, but I don't think the problem is Josh Jacobs. I don't think the problem is that he has forgotten how to play football. The problem is that the offensive line, it's not like they're elite pass blockers either, but the run blocking is just not working. And I don't know enough to say how they're supposed to go in and fix that. If they need different coaching, if they need new personnel, if they have to do what the Rams did and just change how they run the football. That's what McVay did when the run stopped working in 2022. But something big has to change very, very quickly.
Yeah, and to your point, they're going to have some major questions on the offensive line. Not only that, but Elgton Jenkins has got basically a $20 million team option as well, which they're almost assuredly going to decline. So he's probably gone as well. They're going to have a ton of questions there. I mean, and it's just not even next year. They have a ton of questions right now. They've got to get this figured out. And now, again, Elgton Jenkins probably out for a significant period of time. They just put him on injured reserve, so he's not going to be back anytime soon. And, they spent a ton of money on Aaron Banks, a first-round pick on Jordan Morgan last year, a second-round pick on Anthony Belton this year. And then even like last year, some of their late-round picks where they usually hit on offensive linemen. Travis Glover's out for the year on IR. Jacob Monk has given them nothing. John Williams, a 7th-round pick this year, is seemingly out for the year. Didn't even go to rookie minicamp. Has not done anything with the team as of yet. This is not looking great at the moment.
Yeah, I heard you. Was that you who asked the question about the offensive line, Andy?
Yeah.
At the press. Okay. Yeah, I was listening through. I was like, wait a second. I recognize that voice. And then what LaFleur said, he doesn't want to pin it on the guys that they need to be better.
Yeah, probably could have maybe asked that question a little bit better because I didn't really give him an out to answer it other than throwing his guys under the bus, which of course he's probably not going to do in that situation. But, I think the overarching thing for me is that this really does feel like it comes down to the offensive line. You know, if you look at any of Jordan's metrics when either pressured or not pressured, it's night and day. Like he's Superman when he's not pressured. And if he's pressured right now, it's a nightmare. And so, you know, you've got to protect him better. And then, you know, again, Josh Jacobs, like you said, he hasn't forgot how to play football. If you give him any little crease, he's going to find it. And they're just not giving him anything to work with. And when you've got one of the highest paid quarterbacks and, one of the best running backs in football, and neither of them can do anything because of your offensive line play up front, that's just a major issue. And like we talked about, just that play sheet gets very barren very quick when you can't protect, you can't run block. What do you want to call?
Well, you're right. When I'm watching Love and he has time, you're totally right. He's Superman. He picks people apart. I always felt like when he gets pressured, you can almost see him get a little antsy. That's when you see some of those, off the back foot throws, and it took the big sack that I alluded to earlier. And those are the situational plays that you look at with the Green Bay, and you go like, all right, can't take that sack, can't move out field goal range. Bo Melton has the big drop. Love the fumble at the end of the first half when it looks like you're going to get the lead. Like there's just, on top of a failure to execute, the common plays in the big moments as well. It seems all year Green Bay's kind of been, struggling to win those critical play areas. And I thought one of the biggest ones, you said, it's, when you know what the other team's going to do and you still can't do anything about the Packers, like that's a problem. Well, the Eagles knew what the Packers were going to do, and they did something about it on the 4th and 1 play where, you have TikTokers after the game who are like immediately saying like, hey, look, even I knew the Packers were going to do that here. And that to me was just, that's on LaFleur. That's on LaFleur to like, that can't be the play call in that situation with the 1 seed sort of on the line. I don't know if it'll ultimately wind up costing them, but it very well might. And that's what you're doing. We're all sitting back here watching the game going like, what was the reaction like in the press box when that was the play?
Well, press box is obviously,
a little more professional
or anything like that. So for more
but
professional.
But guys are thinking things.
Yes, very much so. You could still tell there was like again, I don't, whether it's a press box or anything else, everyone in that stadium knew exactly what was coming. It wasn't just the defensive tackle, Jomo, pointing it out and saying inside zone. Everyone knew exactly. I'm sure everyone on TV watching as well knew they're handing to Josh Jacobs on this play. It was the most obvious thing in the world. And yet the Packers were the only ones that thought they were getting, well, we're in shotgun. It's 4th down. We're clearly going to pass the ball. It's like, if everyone knows you're going to run. Everybody knows you're going to run in that situation. And not only just run the most bland, whatever, not even anything off it. Not even like Jordan Love pretending that he's going to keep it on a read option so that maybe the defender has to stay with him. Just literally, an offensive line that can't run block with the game on the line. Hey, and Philly with some unbelievable defensive tackles who just also happens to be calling out the play you're about to run at the line of scrimmage. Get out of here.
I'm sorry for laughing at the crash out, but
you have to. You have to. It's so stupid. The only thing you left to do is laugh because And how is somebody, I don't care. I don't care if it's the center or if I'm the center, all right. And this is obviously going everything's on Matt here. This isn't on any of the players. He called the play, etc. But if I'm Sean Ryan and they're calling out the play ahead of time, I don't care how many times Jordan asks for that ball. I'm not snapping that damn ball. We're going to 4th and 6 if need to. We'll take the delay of game. I'm not snapping that ball. And if I'm Jordan and I hear inside zone, they're going over here, and I see that, I'm sorry, I'm not calling for that snap. We're either calling a timeout or I'm audibling or I'm going rogue or I'm getting under center and I'm just going to call a QB sneak on my own. I don't care. But man, at some point, if the other, there has to be a, a button that you can push.
Yeah, an alert button. Something like
an
that.
alert that you can call. That if the other team knows the play, abort. You just literally abort. I don't care what you do. Just don't run the play. That seems like a bad idea.
Well, no, this is the problem is at Philly, when it's 4th and inches, everybody knows what they're going to run. The reason that's not a problem is because the thing they're running is something they're really, really good at.
Right.
The Green Bay Packers this year have not been good on inside zone. So the thought that with Again, like Paul, I'm not going to say the season is on the line, but a
one
really
seed.
important game is on the line.
Big time.
And you say something we've struggled with this game that hasn't worked, that hasn't really gone super well the first few times we've done it. We're going to roll it out again. You've got to be better prepared than that. And this is why I've been a big Matt LaFleur defender. I have said for a long time that Packers fans that want him gone don't know what they have. They haven't gone through it like the Vikings have. He's a good coach. He wins a bunch of games. But the Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur offensive partnership is just not working. And one of those guys is a person you can replace, and one of them isn't. So at this point, I'm starting to wonder if at the end of the season, barring some miraculous offensive turnaround like the Rams had of McVay a few years ago, if LaFleur is going to be back next year.
It's just really good. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously there's a lot of ways this could go. They can turn it around and be great and be amazing the rest of the year. That'd be nice, at least from a Packer side of things. Things could falter very quickly and things could get way worse before they get better. And I still struggle to see an avenue where something could happen in season. But if you go on a major losing streak and you lose the locker room, it's probably not out of the realm of possibility where maybe you want to see what Jeff Hafley can do. Jeff Hafley can do as a head coach. There's definitely some opportunity there if things go really, really wrong. And then other situations are maybe, it goes okay. Maybe you get in the playoffs, maybe you lose in the first round. You're not willing to can Matt, but the offense still looks stagnant. And so, the force is, hey, you're going to still be the coach. You're no longer going to call the plays and you need to bring in a new offensive mind. Maybe that's a Mike McDaniel. Maybe that's a Brian Dable. Maybe that's a somebody like that you're bringing in that's going to have to revitalize the offense. But usually when that stuff sort of happens, it's kind of the beginning of the end.
Well, it's hard for me to see, given the Packers have had consistent problems being prepared and with penalties, to say, well, LaFleur's such a good coach that we're willing to keep him around if we don't trust him to run the offense.
I feel like the worst spot Green Bay could be in is having just a repeat of how last season's playoff game went, where it ends and you're just kind of left with this bland taste in your mouth. Like you're like, what was that? Because if it goes off the rails, at least you're getting a change in. But if it goes the other way, Toyotathon starts in a couple days here, it looks like. So if it goes the other way, great for you guys. But if you just kind of limp your way into the playoffs, don't really compete in the wild card round, and say, okay, should we get rid of LaFleur? Do we want to do that? I just think that's a bad mojo going into 2026 as well. Where to me, it's almost better if it goes one of the two ways. Just it's horrible or it's great.
Is it circumventing the salary cap if you pay Toyota to start Toyotathon in September? Is there anything against the rules and paying a league, a fee to get a company to start something a little sooner? That might be something Green Bay wants to look into. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting remainder of the season for Green Bay and how they, every good team has a journey that had adversity through the middle of it at some point. And Green Bay is certainly going through the thick of it right now. I think the best stories are the ones where you do face a crap ton of adversity. 2010 for Green Bay is such a great example of that. They were 8-6 on the season. They had 1,000 guys on injured reserve. Even in the Super Bowl, Charles Woodson goes out with a broken collarbone. Jarrett Bush is playing corner. It's a better story when you have to go through the thick of it. And I'm not saying that that's the story they're certainly going to tell. It seemed very far from the case at the moment, but the best stories are the ones where you have to overcome a lot of adversity. Green Bay is going through the thick of it right now. Hopefully they can come out the better for it, but this can go one of two ways really quick. And we're about to find out.
Well, you do, sitting back here, looking for reasons to be optimistic. It's very clear through this point in the season that Green Bay is a championship defense. This defense is good enough to go to the Super Bowl. Maybe not on their own, but they are not weak at all. Yeah. The special teams are what they are. That's just not going to change. But there is talent on this offense. And if you want reasons to be optimistic, we're sitting here talking doom and gloom. The Packers are one game away from leading the division, having lost it by 3 to one of the better teams in the conference. Now, obviously, the way they got there is not pleasant, but you've got a couple winnable games coming up here. You've absolutely got to win in New York. If they lay a Carolina Panthers, Cleveland Brown-esque stinker there, the stadium might be empty when the Minnesota Vikings come to town. There could be a riot from the fans.
Except for us.
But if you win the games against the Giants and the Vikings like you should, we've said that a lot of the Packers, but you're 7-3-1. Hopefully the offense is looking better. You've got the talent on the team. The season is not over.
The funny thing is if everything goes chalk this week, you guys beat the Bears by Vegas favorites. The Packers beat the Giants, and the Eagles beat the Lions. And the Packers are in first place in the NFC North. So, there's a long time left. The other crazy thing is that the Packers are 10 points away from being undefeated. Yeah. 10 points. They lost 3 games by 9 and they tied a game. So in their 4 non-losses, it's by a combined 9 points. So 10 more points in the right spots, and they are undefeated on the season. So it's just been that kind of year for Green Bay, and it just like in very Green Bay fashion too. Like, of course, the one game Green Bay puts up 40 points is the game that the defense no shows and allows 40 points, and you can't win the game that the offense shows up in a major way and scores 40 points. And then like 3 games where you allow a combined 39 points, you're 0-3 in those 3 games. It's just remarkable of like, they just cannot play complementary football and like show up for a game and be like, you know what, we're going to actually play offense, defense, and special teams for this game for 4 quarters. And imagine that. And, the closest was obviously Detroit. And when they did that, they looked pretty damn good.
Oh, when they're on, their peak is as high as any peak in the league. And that's we had so many Packer fans in the comments last night who were just done. And I didn't blame them. When you have games like that, it's easy to just give up. And football is, we talk about all the time how reactionary week to week it is. I mean, I feel like I say that. I think I say that on every single one of our shows. But Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach, who, we almost bring up Notre Dame every show too, it seems, he was talking the other day because, we started off 0-2, and he had a great quote when he was saying, we stay in the moment and we stay in the struggle. And the last 2 years, Notre Dame has definitely started off with some rocky roads. And I think that's sort of what Green Bay's got. Like right now, kind of embrace the struggle. And it's a young team, but they're really not that young anymore. I mean, they're young compared to the rest of the league, but these guys have been around and they've been to playoff games. Like they're a more experienced group than just saying, hey, this is the youngest team in football again. Like they need to look in the mirror and really determine whether or not they're gonna turn this thing around. And if they lose to the Giants, it's over. That I'll come out and we'll do the show next week. We'll be like, all right, Andy, it's been great. Well, we'll just talk about the Vikings the rest of the year and how horrible our lives are as Vikings fans. But this is the gut check time.
And of course, the Giants, go and get a new coach right before the game, and I'm probably going to give some unscouted looks. And Green Bay struggled with the Giants in the Matt LaFleur era. Like just they had the game where Cutlets, what was his name?
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito beat him. Like that was a remarkable game. Dexter Lawrence has been an absolute pain in their side. So yeah, Green Bay has actually struggled with the Giants in Matt LaFleur's tenure, and it doesn't make any damn sense. So nothing would surprise me in this game whatsoever. So
the DeVito game was one of the most surprising games I think I've ever watched. Because that was a joke. Here I'm here in Jersey, and like that was truly a joke when he was playing. It was just tanking. Probably the clearest form of tanking I've ever seen in my life. And when they won that game against you guys, I was like, what? What is happening here? So
you mentioned Green Bay's peaks are as high as anyone. Their lows are lower than the Tommy DeVito Giants and the 2025 Cleveland Browns too. Like that's just what this team's DNA is a little bit. If you just don't know what you're going to get week to week. And if you want to make a run at things, like you can't make a 3-game run through the playoffs and through a Super Bowl if like in any given week you can lose to one of the worst teams in football. And that it easily could be on the table again this week.
Well, and then we kept saying on our show, the Lions, when they have a bad week, they come back and they just beat the crap out of a bad team. Like they do it. They've done it for years now. When they play a bad team, they leave no doubt.
They're pissed off. Yep.
Yeah. And that's, that to me is a mark of a champion. Like that's a trait you need to have is can you actually blow out the teams? Not just squeak by, and squeaking by is fine as long as you win, but they go out there and they just embarrass these guys. They show how good they are. And honestly, I think that imposes fear in a lot of teams they play. And Green Bay, they're just a bizarre team. Of all like the real contenders, they just seem to have an on-off switch that they have no control of. And I guess we'll just have to see with LaFleur. Like, yeah, everyone's asking, should he be fired? Not now, obviously. But we'll see how the next half of the season goes.
The interesting thing for you guys is like if you're looking for a pathway, right? Your pathway is if Green Bay is just not good, all of a sudden there's a pathway, right? Because Chicago at home, Green Bay, Washington, Dallas, New York, Green Bay again. Like all of a sudden, if Green Bay is not good, that 6 doesn't sound so hard. Now you have Detroit and Seattle; those two very difficult. That's probably 2 losses. But again, I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying if you're looking for optimism from a Vikings standpoint, if all of a sudden Green Bay is not good at the sport of football, certainly advantageous for you guys.
Well, we've got our own problems with coaching, which we'll get to when we hit the Vikings. But I don't think Vikings fans are a whole lot happier about what's going on in Minnesota than Packers fans are of what's going on in Green Bay. And I don't think we're feeling more optimistic either. Are we, Paul?
Optimistic? No, I'm not feeling optimistic at all. But I've completely accepted that, this season, if anything comes of this season, it's a cherry on top to me. Like I'm fully on board the JJ needs to get better trained. So even when we lost to the Ravens, now was JJ better in that game? No, but I've realigned my expectations in an attempt to prevent future heartbreak. With that said, I also think if we beat Chicago, we're right back in the race the next weekend at Green Bay. So I will surely wind up being hurt again. But as of right now, I'm comfortable. And yeah, you know what? It's all about development, and I'm trying to convince myself.
What fan bases do you think are legitimately happy right now? I'm going to say the Patriots,
the Rams,
the Colts, the Rams, the Seahawks, and I'm actually going to say I think for the most part the Bears as well, just based on like expectations going into the season and how they've been on mostly a winning streak as of late. I know they had a loss a few weeks ago, but I'm going to say those are the 5 fan bases that are actually like legitimately satisfied, and I think the other 27 are some level of frustration. I know maybe like Detroit would go on the happy side, but they were just pissed a week ago to no end because they lost to you guys. So I think there's 5 legitimate happy fan bases.
I think that's accurate. I'm looking through. I mean, Chargers are probably sort of happy, but I'm 7. They're a sneaky 7-3. That's like a very quiet 7-3 team.
Agreed.
Chargers fans are still thinking of the time they lost in New York a few weeks ago to the Giants, I think.
Yeah. I would bet you that Green Bay and Buffalo are 2 of the unhappiest fan bases at the moment.
You guys seemed more unhappy last night than maybe I've ever seen the Packers fan base, at least since the beginning of the Love era.
I think this is honestly the most frustrated. Even like before this week, this season's been the most frustrated that I've seen the Pack. Like when they were, dude, I saw Fire LaFleur tweets after the first preseason game. Like legitimate, like Fire LaFleur after the preseason game. Like I got it in, week 1 when, not week 1 after Detroit, but like, they were 2-0 following the Washington game. And one of the narratives was, should the Packers move on from Matt LaFleur so that they can sign Jeff Hafley as head coach? And they were 2-0 and had beat the Detroit and Washington, like 2 what seemed like good teams at the time. And they were still like just not satisfied. No, it's like, no, Jeff Hafley should be the coach. It's been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fun to go in there in 2 weeks and really put the nail in the coffin on this. that would be crazy.
Right. While we transition over to you guys, just a note while we were recording here, a player that your team and the Packers were interested in, Asante Samuel Jr. signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Really?
Interestingly enough, on the practice squad, so not even a active roster signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, signs to their practice squad. So we both do not get what we want. Asante Samuel ends up with the Steelers of all teams.
Yeah, I'm worried about his injury a lot. I mean, I obviously I would have been
There's a reason 5 teams that need a quarterback passed on the guy coming off spinal fusion surgery, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
That's really alarming to me, and honestly a little scary when he steps on the field. But obviously, yeah, I was hoping we were going to make a move there, and you guys could absolutely have used the help as well. It was kind of funny. I felt like every hour I was getting an alert on my phone. I was like, former Charger Pro Bowler is visiting blank team, and it's like, okay, Asante Samuel is touring legitimately the entire NFL.
Everyone, yeah,
and I guess Pittsburgh. We'll see. I'm assuming he'll get on the field at some point. They're
Yeah, I would
bleeding.
assume they'd
They're
have to win.
bleeding fast. They're in a lot of trouble. Pittsburgh.
Big time.
Yeah. So yeah, we can turn our attention. I mean, we stall as much as we can, but we can turn our attention to the Ravens Vikings game where Baltimore wound up winning 27-19. Really, really frustrating. I don't know how much of the game you caught, Andy, but the Vikings 13 penalties, 102 yards in penalties. They had 8 false starts. I mean, just
at home,
continuously all year. We've been shooting ourselves in the foot. And Justin Jefferson had a very non-Justin Jefferson performance, one that raised a lot of eyebrows.
That was my number one thing I wanted to ask, but continue. I want to get to that.
No, yes. I was just going to say, Kevin O'Connell did not have a great game. McCarthy starts the game off with a, picture perfect pass to Jalen Naylor, who was fantastic. And we go right down the field, score a touch. It's 3-and-out Baltimore, touchdown Vikings. And I leaned back in the recliner I was in. I went, holy crap, we're back. And after that, it
basically, know what
basically
happens when you do that.
It basically went downhill after that. Okay, Andy, your question.
Hey, friends, let's get our sleeper picks in for this upcoming Sunday. Rams, Seahawks. This one has the ability to be unbelievably epic. Who would have thought that going into the season? But let's make it a little bit more epic with sleeper. I'm going super simple on this one. The two most dynamic receivers in the NFL right now, Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba, to both score touchdowns in this game. Jackson Smith-Njigba, more than 1/2 touchdown scored. Puka Nacua, more than 1/2 touchdown scored. I'm going to say they both score in this game in this must-have NFC West matchup. You can get your sleeper picks in, of course, over on Sleeper. Make it a little bit more fun. Make sure you get them in for Thursday Night Football, Sunday Football, Monday Night Football. Anytime there's football, it's awesome to do. The best part is that you can get a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Again, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper for details. Of course, they are available in over 25 states nationwide. So what are you waiting for? Get your sleeper picks in right now. Hey, friends, we'll get back to Paul and Ziggy and making fun of the Minnesota Vikings in just a moment. But before we do so, I just want to give out a shout out to our sponsors for today's show. I want to start with Luigi's Frozen Pizzas. Now, I'm going to talk today about their original pepperoni pizza. This is the classic Luigi's experience, thin, crispy, timeless. Here's what we got. A 12-inch thin, crispy crust pizza made right in Wisconsin with Wisconsin mozzarella, zesty tomato sauce, which is my absolute favorite, Parmesan cheese, Romano cheese, and of course, their deliciously seasoned pepperonis. They are crisp, crunchy, satisfying, and you can find them in the freezer section of your local grocer. You can check luigispizza.com for the location nearest you. Trust me, you're going to enjoy these. Go get one as soon as you possibly can. Also, shout out to Alchemy Wealth Management. Now, I don't know if you guys are thinking a lot about retirement. For me, it was pretty simple because I've been thinking about retiring since I was in about 6th grade. But whether you are just thinking about it, already retired, or right near the state of retirement, you should check out retirewithryan.net and work with Ryan Nelson of Alchemy Wealth Management to get your plan either in motion or better set for your financial future. He makes it super simple, cuts out all the jargon, and makes it so that you have the best plan for you in your personal walk and financial journey. So check it out again over at Alchemy Wealth Management, retirewithryan.net, and get your financial future sorted out today. All right. So obviously watching this game, I have not seen the all 22. I've not seen the discourse on Vikings Twitter or anything. So this is like legitimate questioning, not leaning in any direction. When I saw the two deep balls were the ones that I was very interested in from McCarthy, the two that were picked, obviously, both, if I remember correctly, shot plays to Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
And I was of the opinion that I thought Justin did his quarterback no favors in that situation, in either of those. I'm not sure either of them are the most, opportune time to maybe throw, but you're kind of giving Justin one-on-ones. And then, the one play, it looks like maybe his feet get caught up and there's a stumble and it is what it is. The other one, I thought maybe, again, Justin could have maybe done a little bit better. But again, didn't see the all 22 of it. Just in real time and as they showed the replays of it, I could kind of see what JJ was seeing / thinking. And usually when you give Justin Jefferson a one-on-one, you're like, hey, I like my chances where at minimum this isn't going to be picked and maybe he's going to do something crazy. It just didn't feel like, I don't know. It was just an odd situation to me.
Ziggy, you want to take this first?
I mean, you can count on one hand probably the number of times when Justin Jefferson has had a flat out bad game as a Minnesota Viking, where the body language has been bad, where the effort hasn't quite been there, where the production hasn't been there, where plays he usually makes work out and just don't. You're going to need one more finger after this one. This was one of his worst games as a Viking. And it's hard to know exactly what's going on inside the locker room, where some of that just Justin Jefferson getting frustrated with the way the season is going. Is Justin Jefferson hurt and they're not talking about it? It's hard to know, but nothing worked right for this offense except Jalen Naylor. And that is not something you should be saying when Justin Jefferson is on your team.
Yeah.
And it's not just this game. I mean, this game is the worst game he's had this season, but he's having his worst season as a pro. His connection with JJ McCarthy just isn't there. And, Justin Jefferson's standards are extremely high. His worst season as a pro is an above average season for almost any wide receiver in the NFL. But the Vikings need a leader right now. They need somebody on the field, on offense, who can say, I can take over this game and bail you guys out when things aren't going well. And when Sam Darnold was struggling, that was Justin Jefferson. With Kirk Cousins, that was Justin Jefferson. With our cavalcade of backups, that was always Justin Jefferson. And this game, it wasn't.
Yeah, I think Justin Jefferson has earned the right that we shouldn't speculate he's pissed off with the team. Like he's just been a great leader, a great teammate his entire time, a great guy in the community in Minnesota his entire time there. It's understandable why he would be frustrated, but I'm not going to go so far as to be like, oh, he wants out. And obviously, I wouldn't want to fan those fires anyway if it were true.
He should absolutely want out.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
should
Andy.
absolutely want out of Minnesota. That's a given. That's a clear and obvious given.
But the concerning thing was seeing him look so frustrated after some overthrows and some misfires from McCarthy, where he had the drop in the end zone too. And I don't think people were getting on him for that. He's getting hit while reaching his arms out. That's a tough catch. But Ziggy, you're right too. Justin Jefferson makes that catch. Other people in the league don't. He has superpowers. He's the guy that is always upbeat and can turn things around in a second because he's the best receiver in the world. And the more upsetting thing, I wasn't mad that he didn't make that play. I was more upset with his reaction and response to everything because he has to be the one to have heart every week in and week out. Maybe he just had a bad day, but we can't really afford that from him. As far as the 2 interceptions, because I feel like we completely disregarded your question, Andy. The 2 deep balls. The first one was another one where I didn't think he really had a chance at it. I'm not sure he actually saw the ball the entire time. It's thrown into, he's sort of in double coverage there. I just thought that was JJ hucked it up. It is what it is. Right. And Starks was, he touched Starks. That's why he's not running after him on that play.
Yep, which makes sense. Yep.
I had no issues with that. The following play, I think, was much more interesting because he goes down. He's frustrated all day with how the refs were officiating him. He made that very clear on a couple plays later. And when he goes down and Humphrey intercepts it, Marlon Humphrey, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch because Humphrey just kind of starts walking with the football.
He's like jogging. Yeah, they get past. Yeah.
Justin's just, walking. Like he's also walking toward Humphrey. And it seemed so bizarre that I was just waiting for the flag to be thrown because you could see Jefferson tripped. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, he's just not trying on this play. Like he's just not trying to tackle him. And that was one where it's like, yeah, the effort wasn't there. And if you're frustrated, you still got to go make that tackle. I honestly wasn't too upset that he didn't do it because I don't want Jefferson to to get hurt on one of those plays. But really, the play call was the more fascinating piece of that entire play, where it's 3rd and 1, and the Vikings are driving down 1 point to open the quarter on the 50-yard line, moving the ball well on this drive too. They're running well, and O'Connell decides to take the shot. And you should just see Viking fans everywhere are posting run the ball more KOC. They ran 13 times for 72 yards. Had a lot of success on the ground. Just didn't stick to it. And O'Connell's response was 3rd and 1. I know I'm going for it on 4th and 1. We have cover 0 with the best receiver in the world on the outside. I don't regret that shot. And I would have called a run, but I don't blame him either. You take that shot.
Do we need a coach trade? Does this fix everything?
I would not trade coaches.
Does this fix everything? Matt LaFleur just wants to run the football. You guys get to run the football all the time. KOC wants to take the shot plays down the field. Jordan Love's ready. Jordan Love's ready to take all the shot plays down the field. And maybe just a trade of coaches. Everything's fixed for both franchises. See you later, Detroit and Chicago. Minnesota and Green Bay are heading right to the top.
I mean, if you combine our teams, well, watch out.
I mean, I'll say this. Well, I think there's like some funny coincidence there. Both of these coaches, I think fan bases feel like have the same problem. Their play calling is just not responding to the situation their team's actually in, right? We've talked about it with Green Bay, but with Minnesota, JJ McCarthy, you can see this from the advanced stats. You can see this from watching how his leg moves when he's throwing. The more times he throws in the game, the worse the mechanics get and the worse the throws get. Like his EPA is basically a straight line up for the first drive or two and then a straight line down for the rest of the game, almost every single game. His mechanics start out pretty good and then degrade once you get to past 20 or 25. And this shouldn't be a surprise given how JJ McCarthy played in college. But in a game where our run game is working okay, and it's not like we're down 21-0 in the second quarter like the San Francisco 49ers, JJ McCarthy gets 42 passes dialed up. And a lot of these are deep passes for a quarterback who already struggles of holding the ball and dealing with pressure. The play calling in Minnesota, too, is just not responding to the game situations we're actually in and what JJ McCarthy can actually do. So, I mean, the false starts, I think, are a part of that, too. Clearly something, when you have 8 false starts, including 5 or 6 of them on veteran players, there's probably something going on with your quarterback in the game. All of that is stuff I expect to get addressed, but it seems like it's the same story in Minnesota and Green Bay. We've got offensive-minded head coaches who we know can coordinate good offenses, but the partnership with their quarterback just isn't working.
Well, Ziggy, to kind of further where that there might be some sort of a disconnect with McCarthy and O'Connell early on, short yardage, right? We are horrendous. I sent you this earlier today. The Vikings are terrible in short yardage, and they have been for a while. Really, all of O'Connell's tenure there. But this season, McCarthy, Andy, you'll like this stat, 22 third or fourth in short situations, so 3 yards or less. They've had 1 fumbled snap. They've had 1 defensive offsides. 6 run calls. They converted 5 of those. And 14 passing calls. Guess how many first downs on the passing calls?
I'll say, I don't know which direction you're heading me. I would have said probably like half. I'll say like 3.
0.
Oh
0 first downs on 3rd and 4th or 3 and less. They've been sacked 4 times and picked off twice, or McCarthy has been. And, you know, it's brutal. You watch teams, you said, Ziggy, like the Eagles, who it's just an automatic. They get into those short yard situations. That's how they win so many of these close games, is because they're able to convert those plays at the end. And, you know, the Vikings just haven't been able to do that. And I think I said at the top that coming out half, we were down 9-10. We were actually winning 10-9 with the ball when we took the shot to Jefferson that was picked off by Humphrey. And the Vikings, I mean, it's kind of similar to the Packers in a way. You know, we throw that interception, and I've said this for years, that our ability to collapse in all 3 phases of the game simultaneously is, you know, pretty much unmatched across sports. Where they throw the interception right down the field for a field goal for Baltimore. Defense does a nice job holding its ground. Then we fumble the kickoff. Baltimore scores. We're down 19-10 in the blink of an eye. And all of a sudden, you know, O'Connell starts throwing the ball more. We abandon the run game, and that's all she wrote. So I do think Kevin needs to be a lot better, and he can't have, you know, a brilliant game in Detroit and follow it up with just a complete clunker against the Ravens when that game is there for the taking. So very much disappointment on our end as well, Andy.
Yes. I mean, I think the you know, obviously from a Vikings standpoint, it hasn't gone exactly according to plan. The Jefferson thing is super interesting. The McCarthy thing is really interesting to me. Here was my question number 2 for you guys this week. With McCarthy, how, with Josh McCown, known quarterback guru, Kevin O'Connell, known quarterback whisperer, and I remember, I loved McCarthy coming out. Why is it looking like he is trying to throw a dodgeball 1,000,000 miles per hour through anyone when he's throwing the football and has not found any touch whatsoever on some of these plays? It is remarkable to me, where it's like he just has the one speed fastball, and I I'm very stunned that hasn't developed in some real way, shape, or form where he hasn't found a little bit more touch on some of those passes.
I think Ziggy said in the begin or a little earlier that early in games, against Detroit, he had he dropped it right in the bucket to Addison, and Addison wasn't able to bring it in the corner of the end zone. This game had a perfect pass to Jalen Naylor down the sideline on the opening touchdown drive.
That one was beautiful.
And yeah, like he has a couple throws where you go like, that's it. Like that is it right there. Exactly what we want. And yeah, then just as the game goes on, he starts to just turn into like a backyard quarterback.
Alter ego
9 comes out. 9 comes out, and he's 9's just firing away. I don't know. I don't know the answer. And listening to O'Connell talk, it does sound like he's just training a puppy. Basically, he's like, we we got to work on things. We're looking at footwork. We're looking at climbing the pocket. When to dump it off, and everything he's saying makes you realize more and more that this is going to be a project, like a bigger project maybe than some people thought. I had my questions about JJ beforehand, but a lot of people were hoping he could pick up where Darnold left off. No, that's not the situation here. But it's also game 4, so I'm not making any sweeping declarations on JJ until at least the end of the season, honestly. But yeah, it would be nice to see a couple more touch passes and encouraging plays in that regard.
Where are we at with the Jonathan Grenard injury? Because that's obviously huge too for you guys.
He seems to have. He might miss next week, but he'll be okay. Because when he went down,
he'll be fine just in time for Green Bay.
Yeah. You'll be able to
fantastic.
see him.
That's perfect. Chef kiss.
He should be good. I was really excited though, Ziggy, with Jalen Naylor. We mentioned him for a second. Was awesome. And if he could, I've always thought Speedy Naylor's a good player. He could develop a little bit more too. Just have another weapon to utilize with Hawkinson having a down year. And O'Connell mentioned as well that they need to get him the ball more. Maybe that could help get Justin Jefferson going again. But there were things to be encouraged by, but overall it was a pretty disappointing game.
I am, because you guys are still without Josh Oliver, right? Or is he back now?
We've been without him. I think he's ramping up, but I don't know if
everyone's always ramping. Nobody's ever ramped. Everyone's always ramping. No, if obviously you guys keep close tabs on the league and a lot of what these offenses are doing with their heavy personnel packages and 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, etc. I know I've talked about Josh Oliver in the past, and I still think he has the ability to bring some of that to the table where you can have him on the field as a blocker and also be still a receiving threat. I know he's not, when you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, TJ Hawkinson, etc. He's not 1A on that list, but I still think that's an important piece too that is definitely missing, especially the way teams are playing with more heavy personnel right now.
He's remarkable at getting tackled a yard short of where he needs to go, Josh Oliver.
That's also fair.
He is just sensational at getting hit right in the legs and falling a yard short of the goal line or the first down. But he's an excellent blocker that he's helped. I mean, he's absolutely helps the offense go. So the NFC North odds, guys. We kind of keep our tabs on those. The Lions minus 120 now. The Packers plus 170. Chicago plus 700 despite being tied for first. And the Vikings, great value here at plus 2200 at the bottom of the pack. Where's the best value?
Plus 4,000 right now. That is how irrelevant they are. Sports books are willing to deviate by that much because they don't care.
Where do you think? Where's the value for you, Ziggy, at that?
I said it a few weeks ago. I felt like the Packers were value at minus odds. I feel like the Packers are value at plus odds. I'm going to stick with it. When things look like they're going absolutely terrible for a team with a lot of talent, this is an ideological commitment I have to. Talent beats bad coaching. At a certain point, the talent on Green Bay has got to shine through. And I just refuse to believe in my heart of hearts that the Green Bay offense can keep being this bad for this long. Maybe it will. Right? There's absolutely a possibility that this Green Bay has already peaked for the season and it's a long, painful, slow downhill from here. I just don't believe that's going to happen. There's too much talent on this offense and on this defense. I still think they've got as much talent as the Lions. They still have plenty of division games left. It's not like they're out of it. I'm going to stick with Green Bay at plus odds and just hope that things turn around because they have to. Surely.
What did I get my Bears bet in at? Was it plus 1,200 last week?
I think it was up there. I can check on it, but yeah, no, you got that in at a nice spot.
I'm holding on to my plus 1,200 Bears. I'm not cashing it in early. I'm holding in on my plus 1,200 that I got from a week ago. But like legitimately, as we're sitting here right now, what'd you say the lines are minus what?
The Bears last week were plus 850. You might have even gotten them the week before that, though.
Maybe it was the week before that.
I think you might have. Right now, the Bears are plus 700.
And what are the Lions at?
Lions minus 120, Packers plus 170.
Minus 120. Like I might actually be making some investments here. Minus 120 on
so you're done.
The Lions.
You're done.
Feels fantastic. That feels like stealing at the moment. I just think they're the best team. Where does this end up if Green Bay does the unthinkable and goes to New York and loses this week?
I thought you were going to say wins.
If Philly,
thought you were going to say wins.
It's not unthinkable at all. You're right. It's not unthinkable at all. So if Green Bay goes to New York and loses, and Philly beats Detroit, and Chicago beats Minnesota, where do you think Chicago's odds are at the end of next week? Plus 450?
Lower than that. Plus 550, I think.
Plus 550?
Yeah, I think Vegas is very confident in Detroit over Chicago, regardless of what happens this week. Now, what happens if the Vikings beat the Bears in that same situation? All of a sudden,
that's a really interesting one too.
That actually is like, jokes aside, that does make it like pretty entertaining. Then the Viking Packer game takes on pretty massive.
You guys
meaning.
Might get to like plus 1,800.
Yeah, we might crawl our way back up into the. If the Vikings somehow won the division this year, it would be the most that would be more shocking than the Minneapolis Miracle.
I will wear a Vikings jersey and skull for you guys for a solid 5 minutes if the Vikings win the division this year. So
I actually have a very short, kind of very embarrassing thing to tell you guys now that I mentioned the Minneapolis Miracle. I didn't mean to do it. I was watching something. It came up today. I was on YouTube and I saw the play, and every time I see that, I click it. And I'm watching it over, and I watched the Favre versus 49ers throw as well. And I read a comment that was just like, this is the magic of football. And I was just like reflecting on how awesome that play was, like that night in my house. And I actually had a tear run down my face. And I was just like, okay. I actually put down my phone.
Football,
I put down my phone. No, it was a great memory. I put down my phone and I was by myself and I went, I need to get myself together. I just walked upstairs, looked at my sister, was like, I think I just cried over the Minneapolis Miracle. Like, yeah, we're in a bad spot, man.
I feel the same way on the Tracy Porter play. I totally get it. I totally understand it.
I do cry on that play as well. I actually cry.
Different eye for each tier, yeah.
So week 11, we'll look ahead here now. The Bears go to Minnesota, where the Vikings are shockingly 2-0 in the division, and the Chicago, they're 1-2 now, right? Or are they 0-2?
The Bears are currently
0-2, right? They lost to the Lions and Vikings.
0-2 in the division. 0-2, yep.
So the Bears are, and what's the line on that? You said we're 2.5. Complete lack of preparation on the FanDuel stuff.
The Bears this week are currently set at negative throw. The Vikings minus 3.5. Minus 3.5
Vikings
for
3.5. Jeez, you don't feel good betting the Vikings in any situation. All the Vikings lines coming out. Like last week, I think Baltimore was minus 3.5. It's like, might be a good bet. So looking at this one, guys, I know that I always feel that this is a cop-out statistic to point to when you mention the turnover battle in the game. But Chicago on the year is plus 14 in turnover differential. The second closest team in football are the Jaguars and Tampa Bay at plus 8. So they're doubled up on the entire league in turnover differential, which they've been doing a great job of all season. And J.J. McCarthy in 4 games has thrown 6 interceptions. When the Vikings win the turnover battle or are even tied under O'Connell, they're 33-4, which I kind of blew my mind, actually. So that is what I'm keyed in on. Is McCarthy going to have a massive mistake? He did the first time they played, and we were fortunate enough to have that magical fourth quarter. I'm not feeling great about it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not very encouraged by this one. Should I be expecting a loss is what I'm asking you guys.
Ziggy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ziggy. Dude, what the hell, man? You're out here like gassing up the Packers. You expect a loss. Like, this is.
Last week I was right, Paul. Look, the Minnesota Vikings.
Fair enough.
JJ McCarthy, he can have good games. Maybe this could be a good game. The Bears defense is weak. I've seen a lot of Vikings fans coming in saying if JJ McCarthy doesn't throw for 300 plus against this injured secondary, I'm out. I'll tell you what, if that's you, you can get out right now. JJ McCarthy might have a good game. We might be able to be competitive with the Bears. I think this is true, but the Bears are trending up and the Vikings are trending down. And even though I'm not convinced Chicago is actually a good team and their wins have been against bad teams by small margins, the Minnesota Vikings are a bad team. So that trend continues for Chicago. They have a good win against Minnesota by a small margin and keep the Magic alive for another week.
I'm really torn on this one. I've literally gone back and forth about 3 times just while you and Ziggy have kind of talked about this. I'm going to say Minnesota only because I think Justin Jefferson has a massive bounce back game, has one of his best games of the season, and the Bears don't win the turnover battle. It's always tough playing in Minnesota. Weird things happen. You guys do a great job with crowd noise. I mean that sincerely, not like piping in noise. I mean like your crowd's fantastic and it's loud as hell in there. So yeah, I'm gonna very, very scarily go Vikings over Bears.
I will too, very hesitantly. I felt, to be honest, last week when I picked us over Baltimore, that might have been a little bit more optimistic than I should have been. I'm going to pick us to win a close one again, but it's going to start. Chicago's averaged 185 yards on the ground the last 5 games, and it's going to be important. You know, we got torn up in the second half on the ground by Baltimore. They just started running all over the place. And that was kind of surprising after shutting down Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. After you see what they do against the Commanders. I really don't know how we had that performance against the Lions. So we got to get back to that and try and get them in second and long, third and long situations and get Caleb to make a mistake. The other thing is it's hard to bring Caleb Williams down. he is a master at escaping. But you just got to try and
plays have almost disappeared from this Bears offense, which is such a change from last year.
Yeah, so you just got to find a way to. You can't let him catch rhythm because if he gets going, then they get Swift and Monangai, and I think we'll be okay. But it starts with JJ can't throw interceptions and stopping the rushing attack. So I'm gonna pick us as well, not confidently. Packers at Giants. Giants just fired Brian Daboll. The Packers can't beat good teams. Something has to give here. Like, what are you picking, Ziggy?
Packers win, Giants cover. It's going to be ugly. I think, even though I think Green Bay's offense is going to get it together, I'm not sure this will be the week. Even though the Giants are not a good team, that defensive line scares me. It is sleepily one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, just in terms of the talent that's stacked along it. And Green Bay struggled with that against Philly. But the Giants offense, if Jackson Dart plays, it will be a little better. If it's Russell Wilson, it will be worse. But regardless, I don't think it's going to be good enough to get the touchdown the Eagles needed to beat the Packers. I think the Packers win, but 7.5 feels like a lot.
Bowling shoe ugly. Packers win 13-12.
You guys will be furious if that's the case. Like I can even see it now.
Not as furious as if they lose.
No,
yes, that's very true.
If Russell Wilson plays, is that confirmed yet? Whether or not Dart's playing, or is that still up?
No,
it's too early in concussion protocol. We have no idea.
My guess is about Winston too. There has been some buzz about Winston too.
Oh, I'd rather play Russ than Winston. If I were a Packers fan.
I'd rather play against Russell Wilson too.
Not that I'm scared of Winston. I think Russ. If you guys lose to the Russell Wilson-led Giants with how bad they were, then it's like, all right, shut down the season time. I think you guys will win, and I actually think you're going to cover too. I expect this to be. How many times have we heard this? I expect this to be the bounce back performance where you guys. A little concern about the D-line. Yep. With the way the offensive lines looked in Green Bay, that has to be on the radar. But I'm expecting you guys to shut them down. I can't imagine, especially if Dart's out. If Dart's in, it gets a little shakier. But no, I think you'll win. I think you'll cover. But what do I know at this point? The last one, Lions at Eagles, Sunday Night Football. Massive game, potentially an NFC Championship game preview. It's the one that we were stripped of last year with all the Lions injuries. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites.
No, the Detroit's going to win this game. The Eagles fundamentally are a cowardly team. You can see it from how they called the plays last night. They do not like aggressive passing. You get maybe 1 or 2 aggressive plays from them a game. I still, that third run on 3rd and 12 in the red zone just lives in my mind for what you should never do in a football game. The Detroit Lions are the exact opposite. They're maybe the most aggressive team in the NFL, but they're good enough that when they're aggressive, it usually works out. I think Detroit has heart. Philadelphia's offense is broken. I'm taking Detroit to win this one by at least a score.
Detroit wins. I think I'm with Ziggy on this one. I was not super impressed with Philly overall. Their defense played well, but I honestly think that was a lot more with Green Bay's offense completely crapping the bed. So I'm gonna say Detroit in this one.
Do you guys think Nick Sirianni trusts Jalen Hurts to throw? Like, because I was thinking no the whole game, and then all of a sudden,
down.
he launches it to Brown. I was like, wait a second, this doesn't seem consistent.
I think he trusts Jalen Hurts to make 1 or 2 big plays a game, but he does not trust Jalen Hurts to operate a passing offense for an entire game.
It almost felt like on Monday Night Football that even that 3rd and 12 run, it almost felt like Philly knew, like, if we get to like 9 points, we're good. Like, we're going to be fine in this game.
It just felt like it, right? The more the game went on,
did.
it was like, they're gonna do what they normally do here. And I was surprised you guys got the stop. Actually, I thought they were just gonna run the clock out, kind of like they did in Brazil, right? Remember they had that long drive and ended the game. I'm also gonna go Detroit in this, which makes me think, if we're all on board with Detroit, I love the way they play football. I think it's awesome. And Campbell taking over play calling seemed to work quite well against Washington. If they do it against Philly, now maybe becomes a bigger story of how impactful it is. But I'm going to go with Lions as well. And yeah, they would be my pick to win the division at this point in time too. But hey, Andy, I mean, you guys play well in Detroit. So that Thanksgiving game, I know you guys are down now, but I would not be surprised if you go on a little win streak here.
Listen, I don't think this is the final form of this Packers team. I think they will have a bounce back at some point. What that amounts to, we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think the Packers story is done quite yet. Maybe that story gets a whole hell of a lot worse. That's also a possibility here. But I think there could be another twist or turn to this thing still. And a part of me would be pretty surprised if Green Bay just bowed out of this thing and it was just like, yep, they're done. They totally suck. I think they're going to make some noise still, but maybe that's wishful thinking.
Feel the same way about the Vikings, Andy.
No,
that's wishful thinking.
No, you don't.
That's wishful thinking.
That is wishful thinking. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Any final thoughts for you guys, or you just want to say, bad week 10, let's get out of here?
I can't even get myself excited for a hyped up exit here. This is a miserable week for both of these teams.
Can we even say the Bears still suck?
We're still saying it.
No,
they're higher up
for first in the division. No, you can't say the Bears still suck when you are behind them through 10 weeks. I don't want to hear it.
Maybe Andy could give a go Irish. Go Irish. All right, we'll end. We could end with the. God, there really is nothing.
We'll end with burn the tape. And it's always burn the tape.